get inspired by people who think like you, and build your life in the best way possible. So by the age of 30, 35, that you will actually fix on a career that you really want to build and excel in. And when you do that, what happens is nobody can stop you.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। मैं हूँ आपकी दोस्त, आपकी होस्ट नासिया, एंड वेलकम टू द शो कॉल्ड करियर कंपास नेविगेटिंग द फ्यूचर। दोस्तों, आज के इस एपिसोड में हम बात करने वाले हैं ऑन द टॉपिक ट्रांजिशनिंग फेज in the life of students from school to college and also the importance of networking. इस टॉपिक पर बात करने के लिए हमारे साथ हमारे बीच मौजूद हैं एक्सपर्ट. So let's welcome मोहम्मद शबीब.
Thank you for having me here. Appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak to students through your program.
First and foremost, since we are talking about networking, tell me why networking is essential for professional development.
Very good question. It's something that is not taught in school, first of all. What we say about networking is most people, they are just built for working.
Right.
And only through networking can you become a business builder.
Right.
Because in school, what they teach us is to how to work well. In any stressful environment, you go through college, you go through post-graduation. You learn how to work well under stress and how to, put in your 8 hours. But the fact is, are you building the kind of net worth that you're looking for? Because if you really look at the education system, I'm not blaming the education system in any way, but what it helps us is to become a good worker in some organization, because this world needs more workers. But where do we get the business people? And you see most people that come out, usually they claim, okay, we dropped out and so on, but they're brilliant people. I'm not saying that education is not important again, but the fact is that you need to see what is your skills beyond education that you can build, which will help you become a business owner or, go up in your career faster. Networking is one of the most primary skills that has been identified. If you look at big business schools, right? What is the specialty about it? So if you look at it, it's the alumnus. Got it? The alumni network. So a network that comes out of these schools are of high caliber, which puts you on a speedier career growth or on a better business path. So networking is very important.
Do you believe that good orators are good leaders or good boss or good CEOs?
Oratory skills are very important, no doubt, because if you really look at the world as such, every great leader was an orator. So oratory skills, rather than oratory skills, what I'll say is negotiation skills.
These days
is what is required. You need to be able to negotiate. You need to be able to convince. Oration is about, passing a message. It's about inspiring people for a while. But real motivation comes from being able to negotiate.
And how students can develop these skills while being in school?
There are so many things, there are debate clubs that I remember being in debate clubs. Of course, I used to be in the oratory skills also. I used to participate in Siratul Nabi competition that used to be running here in Qatar. Run by the Ministry of Education. And then we also used to have other things. I honestly also believe in supporting a lot of these initiatives. So participate in such events. It's not about winning. It's about being better in what you're doing. Many times people think that you need to win at things to become good. No. What you are doing is you are practicing to be better than who you were before. The true competition is with yourself. It's not with others. The moment you understand that the only person that you need to compete with and win with is yourself, you have won 80% of things in life. The rest is okay. Where am I in terms of numbers and all those things? But once you understand, okay, when I participate in such initiatives, it's not about me winning, but me improving my skills a little by little. There is this rule of 1%. So I'm going to ask you this question. 1 raised to 365, how much is it? 1 to the power of 365 is 1, right? 1 multiplied by 1 any number of times is 1. But the moment you add a 1% to it, like 1.01 raised to 365, the answer becomes 37.7. So what is that 1% change you're doing in your skill sets, in your oratory skills, in your networking skills, in your study skills, in your sports skills? That 1% change per day is what changes. I would actually ask all the listeners to go and search on Wikipedia or ChatGPT, whatever we use. the principle of 1% and how it was used by the British cycling team,
Okay.
where they were not having even a single winning position in the Olympics. They became the highest Olympic medal team in the next year by just following this 1% rule. So this 1% rule, how you use it is amazing, and you just need to learn how to do it. So it's a long subject, so I wouldn't take out airtime, but I highly recommend the listeners to go back and check it out.
Even I'm gonna check
Please do
this
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, Shabeeb, tell me, how can students use, the social media platforms to enhance their networking and communication skills?
It's something that if you ask me, in my college days, it was very premature, to be very honest. But I did understand one thing. So I'm going to speak on a transition from how it was from my college days to how it was even my school days. So in my school days, I used to be with the photography club secretary. I was a computer science club secretary. I used to be with science club. So all these clubs, what happened is, what I have seen is, more than the being friends with classmates, I have maintained my network with these people who are part of these clubs. I remember them better because the time we used to spend with them were more, the memory is there more of these moments than the ones that were spent in class. And the teachers who inspired us with these things. So participating in club activities is very important. And then transitioning into college, what happened is I again set up the computer science, intercollegiate tech fair in my college, which helped me to even receiving an offer from one of the participating sponsors saying that after college, please come and work for us. Because when I negotiated with them, they were impressed with how I was doing, but I didn't take up that offer. As I said, I went out and started my own company. And then, later on coming out, I used my family network, friends network and all those things. But this was in 2003, a long time back before things were famous. But one thing that existed then and now is LinkedIn. So one of the things that I'll tell you is, when you set up a profile for yourself, yes, Instagram is for friends, but then you can be an influencer there also. You see a lot of tech influencers, a lot of subject matter influencers in Instagram. The other one is, a platform similar to Facebook, which is more family oriented. I think the newer generation is not there in Facebook, to be very honest. My son and daughter is not there, so I know the younger generation is not there. But what I'll highly recommend to the student community is start building your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn profile is where you start following the people that you model yourself on. For example, when I was growing up, I modeled myself on Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and all those people who were the biggest biggest tech giants of those days. But nowadays there are much more people, and there is much more content available for you to learn from. And it's important that you start following these people who influence you. And the most important thing is also understanding what career you want to get into by the time you're 16, 17. Because most of us, we are not sure about what career we want to be. I'm a computer science engineer, but what I do right now, yes, I use a lot of things that I learned from computer science engineering, but it's not computer science engineering. I do business development, business coaching, business strategy. I use a lot of learnings that I have from computer science engineering. But the fact is that, what's your passion? What's your skill set?
Okay, tell me, what are the biggest challenges of students when they shift from school to college?
The biggest challenge that you have as a transition is your time management. Yeah, because what happens is, in school, it's a different scenario. In school, you're there on time and you're out on time, right? But in college, what happens is more, and with the current setup of how colleges run, and especially with the European and the American universities, you have periods which you pick throughout the day, right? So that sometimes you'll have classes running till 8 p.m. Sometimes you will have classes starting at 8 a.m. And then between you'll have a lot of free space. So the transition, what I've seen most kids having as a challenge, and which I've seen my son also having a challenge in the first semester, but the second semester he seems more aligned, is the timetable routine. So when you set up a timetable, what's important is your classes will be varied based on the semester and the availability of sessions. But you also need to fill in the things that is important to you. So if workouts are important for you, if playing football is important to you, if spending time on learning new skills is important to you, you're part of some club and all those things, you need to initiate kind of a multi-pronged approach where one big aspect of it is studies, 100%, but 60% of your time should be covered by studies. The rest of the time you need to also spend time with your family or friends. If you are not with your family or somewhere abroad, away from the family, with friends, because that is also important. Socializing is important. Plus you need extracurricular activities. So for a student, I would say that most of the time we say it's about how you divide the 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of R&R, right? So for a student, I would say that you should be scheduling 12 hours where almost 5 to 6 hours will be taken up by studies. But the rest of the 7 hours, you also have to be looking at what is it that you want to learn more as a skill set. What are the activities that you want to get involved in, and all those things. And then the balance 4 hours is for your, lunch and all those daily routines, and then sleep. One of the most important matter I will tell all students is 8 hours of sleep is mandatory.
Okay, tell me, do you schedule your routine on daily basis?
I do.
Okay.
So
and how essential it is for students also?
So this concept about smart work, right? Smart work was something that we always tell kids also. Don't work hard, work smart. But I would actually move out that first part called don't work hard, because that's wrong. Smart work, you need to work hard. So smart work, whoever made it, forgot to put 2 words in between. Okay, so smart work is made up of smart goals plus hard work. Got it. So you need to have smart goals. How do you set smart goals? So smart goals are specific, measurable, achievable, result oriented, and time bound. There are different interpretations, but this is most commonly used. And if you are able to be specific about what you want to achieve, so goals needs to also be broken down.
Okay, tell me, what soft skills do employers value most in the recent graduates nowadays?
So if you're good at conversations, and you good at keeping calm, you have good emotional control, sales would be a great job for you. If you're more empathetic, if you are having the right attitude to listen to people, listen more than you talk, I think HR would be a good aptitude. So what is important is doing a psychometric analysis of yourself. There's something called the DISC analysis. So DISC analysis, what it says is that every person has 4 traits in them. 2 of them will be predominant than the other 2.
Okay.
Got it? So D stands for deterministic.
Okay.
I stands for interactive. S stands for steadiness. And C for cautious. Okay. So deterministic people are highly driven, ambitious, goal-oriented, will be very, what we call as forceful. They always have a strong... Determined, they have a strong grip when they shake your hand. They dress sharp. They love being the energy in the room. They love being seen in the room. So these are people who are great for leadership roles. These are people whom we say are future CEOs or are capable of leading teams or are good at sales. Interactive people, many people are good at sales, but the fact is that if interactive is more than deterministic, also challenges that they tend to be people pleasers. So that is also a challenge. So you need to understand what is your mapping. So steadfastness is people, what we call as more parental feelings, or people who are steady and are there to take care of people. So more HR oriented. Cautious people are people who are accountants, engineers, and so on, because they want all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. Everything should be perfect. There's always a checklist. So doing a psychometric analysis on what is your thought process. And then what also happens is there are 2 kinds of behaviors in this. One is what we call as adaptive, and what we call as when you're in a threatened position. Natural and adaptive. So people naturally will look in certain way, but when they're in a threatened position, they might not be that same pattern. They'll be different. Which is why sometimes you see people who you thought are very strong break down in certain situations, because their natural state is different from their adaptive state. Adaptive state, they are in control, but in a natural state is when you are threatened, what we call also as a primitive state. you're not in control. Something else is influencing the environment. You are out of control. You go into a natural state. So it's important to understand these and develop your soft skills.
You just finished with your book called Thrive.
Yeah.
So what are the best takeaways of your book?
So Thrive is abbreviation. Okay, it's a word, but I have used it as an abbreviation. You expand it; it becomes thoughts and habits to raise influence, values, and excellence. So THRIVE. Now, one of the things that I had as a challenge is, book writing was always a dream for me. Like 8 years ago when I started into BNI, I always want to write a book. But what changed for me was the fact that because you said reading and writing, I'll emphasize on reading also. So reading is one of the best skills you can have. The reason being that, reading educates you. Now, at a point of time in my life, when in the 2008 recession, 2008 to 2010, there was a very difficult part in my business life where I went through a huge loss, and I was not sure how to take my business forward, whether I wanted to continue in business also. There was a book that I saw by chance in a bookshelf in Carrefour where I had gone for shopping with my wife. The book was called The Bottom Line. And when I saw the bottom line, because I was thinking about my bottom line also in my company, so I saw this book. Yeah, I related, and I immediately took the book and I read it so many times that I can't even remember how many times I read that book. But it made me really good with finance, understanding business finance. And the fact is, what happened is, from that point, I started taking better decisions.
And before we leave, I just want to have a quick advice to all the students from your side, and how would you like to conclude this topic?
Understand that what you study, your marks, is important for you to get through school, but it will not define your future. Your future is defined by the mentors and the teachers that you will choose much later in life sometimes. Because there are people who's going to shape your lives in ways that you can never imagine. For me, a lot of things happened when I was past my 30th age, past my age of 30. That's where I found some fantastic teachers in my life who I really found. So, what Jack Ma used to say about when you're in school, study well. When you're out of school, find somebody to work under so that you can learn from their mistakes. And when after that, you find a job that you can grow in. And it is basically by the age of 30, 35 that you will actually fix on a career that you really want to build and excel in. And when you do that, what happens is nobody can stop you. Get inspired by people who think like you and build your life in the best way possible.
Beautiful message. Well, with this, thank you once again. Thank you so much.